was.
That's like one of those. It's like the Halo theory. Like I've been hearing about this theory for God knows how long now. Like,
so the thing that I found most intriguing though is given that we have the Born Stellar relation to the Chief, and we have the ring the Primordial was destroyed on. We have the allegedly destroyed. We'll see if anything comes up out of 343's back pocket, but. And then we have the place where Mendicant and Bias and the Palace of Pain, all this stuff in the Forerunner saga, the Forerunner saga trilogy, could physically be there in some kind of a locked, the imprint. I can't remember the exact name, and my brain is not working right now. Gaesh, that's right, yeah. It could be in there, and he could see all of these things. So if they were to put all these memories in there, and the primordial secrets and all that stuff could actually be unveiled somehow, how would you want that to unfold? How would you want 343 to give us the rest of the answer to Primordial? Or wouldn't you?
It is never confirmed if Chief has Born Stellar's Gaesh or not. It's unless I'm missing something completely. It's never confirmed. There are a lot of parallels drawn.
No, it's highly
It's assumed. Okay.
Yeah,
I thought it was.
That's like one of those. It's like the Halo theory. Like I've been hearing about this theory for God knows how long now. Like Chief has Born Stellar's imprint. It's like the theory for Halo.
I guess it's just been like locked into my brain now that's it. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the ramifications of that being true would definitely be cool. There'd be a lot of cool stuff that could happen. I mean, they could, if they wanted to retroactively kind of bend that librarian cutscene in Halo 4. I suppose they could kind of bend it so that she was activating the Gaesh in him, kind of. It gets quite finicky because the lore for like Gaeshes and stuff and imprints is still very underdeveloped, really. So like whether or not they could be activated at will is kind of something that we don't know.
Get on it, Luke.
I mean, maybe. You never know. It's one of those things that we don't know for sure though, and we won't know for sure until 343 choose to do something about that. But yeah, the ramifications of that, if true, would be cool. I feel like it would be a little bit cheap though to make it so like, oh look, it just so happens that Chief has the best soldier in humanity has the imprint of one of the most important things from the Forerunners. I think it would end up being a bit like, oh, and he was this all along kind of thing, if you know what I mean. Like I don't like it when stories pull that without any evidence. Like for example, but this is kind of off topic. I don't want to take it off topic, but in the Call of Duty Zombies universe, they did that at the end of Black Ops 3, and it really rubbed me the wrong way. It was like all this stuff that you've seen throughout the entire story from World at War to BO3. Yep, it wasn't who you thought that made it. It was this character that we introduced 2 maps ago that made all of it. You'd never heard of him before, but he made all of it. And it's like, no, because that wasn't the case. That was never the case. And I wouldn't. I don't know. I'd feel kind of weird if they did it with Chief. Not that there haven't been hints towards it, because there have been the odd hint, but I don't know. It doesn't really sit right with me. I like Chief being his own thing and Born Stellar being his own thing, and the parallels between them being purely coincidental, but kind of narratively impactful in how coincidental they are. If that makes any sense whatsoever. Like I think of that shot from Origins and Halo Legends when Born Stellar activates the array. The way that he stands in front of the control panel is the exact same way that Chief stands in front of it in Halo 3, and I like the significant parallels and similarities being drawn there. I think it would weaken that if they made it so that was intentional, not just a coincidental similarity.
Yeah.
But that would also explain all the conversations that were had between him and the Reclaimer and all that. I don't know. It just makes a lot of sense in my mind. I get what you're saying about it cheapening kind of the experience that you're talking about. But at the same time, would it really, though? I mean, you could add so much to the story in Zeta Halo if you had that Gaesh on Master Chief.
I think if they were to do that, it can't be in the main story because everyone would be lost again. So it would have to be something where you're exploring. Like I think pardon the pun, but the exploration opportunities are infinite, and you can just go and find these little things where it's like, oh yeah, Master Chief is Born Stellar, but you wouldn't only find that if you actually go and explore the world, and it doesn't take away from whatever you're doing in the main story.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You could like pop in and like all of a sudden you see the primordial turn into dust, like those kinds of things, like hints at it.
I mean, the primary motivation behind the whole Chief Born Stellar theory really stems back to those few lines that Guilty Spark says to Chief during 2 betrayals, saying you already knew that. How couldn't you? Last time you asked me, that whole dialogue that they were having. And really, aside from that, the only other hints that have been suggested or made to it have been, so again, 343 Guilty Spark calling him Reclaimer, or you are Forerunner, but this ring is mine, and aside from that, it's the Gravemind, and he only calls him Child of My Enemy. So while there is some significant moments in some of that could be extrapolated, and you think, okay, yeah, that's pointing to Chief perhaps carrying the Gaeash of Born Stellar, it's still loose enough to mean that it could just literally be through coincidence. But that's not to discredit the idea that we should be able to experience some of these pinnacle moments like you're seeing on the screen there with the video. That's actually some artwork that was made by a guy called I think Rythaze. I think I pronounced that right. But that moment of having Born Stellar effectively interrogate the precursor, I'm all for being in Halo Infinite, going to a really obscure place in the middle of nowhere, take some trekking to get there, and you go through kind of almost like a flashback. I mean, it's a possibility, obviously, with the cutscene in Halo 5 that Chief's got a tenuous connection with the domain now. So in theory, there could be like almost kind of almost a telepathic kind of reliving of a moment in time that could take place. I'm all for something like that happening.
That's a good point, actually. I kind of forgot about that, in that like his mind in a way is kind of linked to the domain now, and his being is linked. So they could do that, I suppose, if the domain kind of replayed like these events to him. That could work.